What is the creepiest thing that has ever happened in your house at night? Whether you were alone or not. Once when I was on a scuba diving weekend, I was looking to stay in a cheap B&B that I had used a few times in the past. It was an old house with pretty basic facilities, but it was fine for what I needed. As I pulled into the drive, I catch the owner leaving. He had no customers and was about to leave for his home. He only stayed in the old place when he had customers, it seems. I asked if he would be able to put me up for the night, and he said the weirdest thing. If you don't mind staying on your own and making your own breakfast, you can stay for free. Now I know the guy he has no valuables in the place that I might have tried to steal, so no alarm bells go off until he admits that the place really creeps him out and he was afraid to stay there with only one other person. He thinks the place is haunted. I'm young, dumb and full of juice at this point in my life, so I say heck yeah, why not? I get a key and he heads off saying he'll be back in the morning. I bed down for the night and after a little while, I fall into a deep sleep. A loud thump wake me at about 3:30 a.m. It's in the hallway outside my room. I hit the light switch on my bedside lamp and no joy. Darkness. After my heart rate calms, I figure the prick who owns the place is setting me up. I shout out, I know it's you. This is not funny, jerk. But there is no reply. Next thing, I hear footsteps coming towards me. Not overly loud or fast, just walking. It gets to my door then stops. My heart is racing again. Then the footsteps continue into the room. The freaking door is closed. I know this for a fact. I hear the steps come halfway from the door to my bed. I'm in the dark with a menacing something, close to soiling myself, and it is between me and the door. At that point, the lights come back on. The room is empty. The door is shut. I gathered my stuff and slept in the car. A car I drove several miles away. I never went back. I mailed the guy his key. I moved out of my parents when I was 18. I decided to wait a year before going back to school. I moved in with my aunt and uncle in another city where I found work and was close to some of my high school friends that were going to university. A ferry ride away. My aunt and uncle went on a trip to Africa that same fall. My cousin was living there part-time and a girlfriend of hers was staying for a couple of weeks as well. One night, they went out to a club then later were back in the house. I was bumped out of my room to a sofa bed downstairs. This night, I woke up, got up and went straight into the kitchen. I don't remember being thirsty or hungry. I kind of thought that my cousin and her friend had just gotten back. Anyways, at the sink, I see a person or what I perceive to be a person washing their hands in the kitchen sink. I look at them for a second and then go back to bed. The next morning, I ask my cousin and her friend what they were doing at the sink. They both said that they had went straight upstairs to their rooms so they wouldn't wake me up. I told them what had happened, and my cousin had a strange look on her face and told me that they hear things at night in the house. They hear creaking in the floorboards where there are no pipes or anything that may warrant that type of noise. Their cat would routinely go wild when these sounds would take place. She also mentioned that her parents did not let her into the garage for the first few weeks that they lived in the house as they had to clean something up in the garage. All I know is that once I moved out and came back to the house to visit on a couple of occasions, I would have an anxious feeling, the hairs on the back of my neck would stand up. Even now while I type this, remembering, I feel uneasy. When I was a kid, we used to live in a rather old house. There were many odd creepy things that occurred in that house. For instance, a door that had been nailed shut for years suddenly coming open, my parents smelling pipe smoke outside. Neither they nor any neighbors smoked a pipe or windows opening by themselves. For heating, this house had an old wood furnace in the basement, so my parents would have to go down there and chop wood to put in. Whenever someone was down there chopping wood, we could always hear them from the first floor of the house. This one time, when I was home from school, my parents were out somewhere, so I was alone. I had been watching TV in the living room for quite some time when suddenly, I started hearing someone chopping wood in the basement. I hid under a blanket in the living room until my parents were home, and it would later turn out that my older sister had experienced the same thing some time before that. Well, this is gonna be totally buried, but here goes. The creepiest thing that has ever happened to me happened when I was about 14. I was sleeping over at my best friend's house, as I often did because my house sucked. Anyway, my buddy's family was kind of the leave it to Beaver type of family. Everything was in its place. Everything had to be done a certain way. Parents went to bed like clockwork. And also like clockwork, my buddy and I would partake in the usage of the cable descrambler box and watch the Playboy channel and Spice once they went to sleep. This is just about the time the internet was just starting to be mainstream in homes, 95, so accessing adult stuff was just different back then. Anyway, since the entire Fleabing house goes to sleep at 10 o'clock, we would have to watch TV with the volume very low and every light off. Since we were watching adult stuff, we were always on guard for the slim chance someone walks in. This particular night, the only people in the house were me and my buddy and his mom and dad. We're sitting on the sofa, facing the TV, to the left of us is the kitchen, pitch black. Also, the den area we were in was a dead end of the house. The only way anywhere else in the house was through the kitchen. As we're watching, a noise catches our attention, and my buddy immediately panics and turns the TV off just trying to get the adult videos off the screen. It is now totally dark and totally silent. Suddenly, we hear this really loud, throaty, grunty, rhythmic breathing. This is no less than 10 feet away from us and it's slowly getting closer. We are looking into the kitchen and seeing nothing. After maybe 10 to 15 seconds of this Fleabing for real breathing by something unseen, it stops and we just sit there frozen. Totally and utterly frozen by fear. Realizing the only way to get the heck to his bedroom, aka Safeland, we were going to have to go through the kitchen. We Fleabing huddled under a blanket and blindly walked to his room. A couple of weeks later, I was all set up with a pillow and a blanket in my living room watching TV. I get drowsy and decide to just turn off the TV and sleep right where I am. Suddenly, this Scottish terrier that my family was dog-sitting starts barking while staring up at nothing. I swear I thought the breathing thing was about to happen again. It didn't, but holy heck, I was freaked out. I'm kind of freaked out now writing about it 16 years later. It was late at night, maybe 2 a.m. I was up late playing Call of Duty on my Xbox in my living room in the basement. My living room is set up, so I sat on the floor in front of the TV, about 3 feet away. The TV sits on a stand that has a shelf for DVDs on the right, components on the left. There is also a glass door on the left side with the components. I am playing a particularly intense game. I don't recall the score, but it was very close. The game ended. After each game, I stretch and put down my controller, check for text messages, etc. But after I look up at my phone, I look at the glass door holding the components and see the reflection of a little girl about 3 feet tall in a white dress with long black hair, staring at me from the hallway behind me. I immediately turn to check behind me and see nothing. I figure it's late enough and I am seeing things, so I head to bed, sort of nervous. The next morning, I see my sister getting ready for school, so I ask her, by any chance, have you seen anything weird lately, like in the house? She says, like what? I say, you know, ghostly, like a little girl or something. She says, you mean a little girl, 5 to 8 in a white dress with long black hair? I answer, exactly. And she says, yeah, but never face to face. I only see her reflections in things, and she's always behind me. I currently live with my grandmother while I go to college to save up on money. Well, she lives in the first part of a duplex, and this elder couple who were really nice and used to give me cookies and all sorts of treats lived in the second half of the duplex. I do believe the husband passed away in the duplex, but the wife didn't, and eventually, she passed in a nursing home. Well, my grandmother decided to move into the second half because it has a bigger backyard. Well, at night when I'm home alone and my grandmother is at work, I hear footsteps walk past me, back and forth throughout the night. I also hear what sounds like music or a TV on in the main bedroom, but whenever I walk in, there's nothing. It's weird though because I don't feel scared in any way even though I know something is there. Occasionally, I hear voices, but I don't recognize them. Also, I have seen doors open and close in front of me. No joke, but I just go about my business. My grandma's duplex isn't big either, it's the size of an apartment. Also, my nieces and nephews' toys start going off for no reason at random times of the night. She also has this stuffed Santa doll that says, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas whenever I walk into the room. 5:30 in the morning and I'm just about to smoke a bowl after a long bar shift. My apartment had these full-length, floor-to-ceiling mirrors to make the place look bigger. Something caught my eye, so I turned from the TV to the mirror. Standing in the Fleabing mirror was a little girl, dressed in her 50s styled Sunday best. We looked each other in the eyes, and my heart Fleabing stopped. I immediately lowered my head and counted to 3. Looked back up and she was gone. I then calmly got off the couch and started speaking, told her she was welcome to stay as long as she felt the need to, but I would appreciate it if she didn't try to scare me like that again. Just give me a little warning the next time you want to pop in like that and try not to watch when I'm beating off. Then I went to sleep and never saw her again. It was probably just a hallucination, but seeing as I am a slight believer in residual energies and the like, I could never fully dismiss it. I was staying in my first rental house in college, and my housemates happened to be gone for the day or night or whatever. The way we had things was that there was a couch against a wall, and the TV was opposite to it. Then the staircase ran behind the TV so you could see the stairs going up while sitting on the couch. I was bored out of my mind about 3 a.m. or so. Watching TV, all lights off, whatever. I'm not usually a very paranoid, suspicious person. But as I'm sitting there, something in the back of my head says, "Hey, there is someone on the stairs," and then the thought sort of went away. Then about 10 minutes later, same little voice in my head, "Hey jerk, there is someone on the stairs. You are home alone. The heck are you doing?" At this realization, I just froze completely. As soon as I glanced at the stairs, I swear the only thing I saw was feet disappearing where the banister went into the ceiling. At that point, I turned on every light in the house, armed myself and did a search, which was even creepier. I then did a careful retreat to my room, turning off the lights and whatnot until I shut my door. But even then that was worse because my bedroom door had about a fourth of it on the bottom right just missing. It was a crap house, so I'm just sitting in my bed staring at this gaping black hole in my door, which is perfectly sized for something creepy to crawl through. I actually don't think I slept that night, or I at least left my room lights on. When I was 12 years old. Why do these things always happen when we're 12? I was happily sitting at the computer while my cat was asleep behind me. Out of nowhere, the room suddenly felt like it dropped a couple of degrees, and I felt a chill running down my spine. The cat had woken up and her fur was all fluffed up. She was making this weird throat gargle growl sound and she was staring at the wall. Then the chill just disappeared and everything felt normal again. A few days later, I woke up in the middle of the night after hearing some weird breathing sounds, and this is the bit where people stop believing me, but I swear it really happened. There was a man standing at the edge of my bed. I thought it might be my father checking up on me, so I said, "Daddy?" Nothing. At this point, I was positively soiling myself, so I covered my eyes with my hands, but still tried to peek through them to see if he was really there. At this point, he walked over to the middle of the end of the bed and bent down to look at me. I screamed like a mofo, and my father came running in to see what was going on. He turned on the light and the man was gone. Edit. A few years later, I was talking to one of my neighborhood friends, and the topic came up. He mentioned getting out of the shower one day and seeing a strange face in the mirror looking back at him. When I asked what the face had looked like, the features that stuck out to neighbor guy, big swollen looking eyes, gaunt, were that same things that I'd noticed about the man figure that freaky night.